Thousand naughty conceits and lusty words. Homoeroticism and the French Renaissance, 15th through 17th centuries. In context, focus. Homoeroticism and gender play at court. Before 1451, the marriage of French King Louis XI and Charlotte of Savoy marks the beginning of French involvement in Italy, which eventually leads to an invasion in 1494. 1462, the Italian scholar Marsilio Ficino founds a group known as the Platonic Academy, which becomes central to the period's reinterpretation of Neoplatonic philosophy. After 1660s, Felipe I, the brother of King Louis XIV, is male lovers and wears women's clothing at court. 1781, during the French Revolution, the first penal code informed by Enlightenment thinking rather than religion does not explicitly condemn same-sex acts. From the late 15th century until the French Revolution, the sexual representation of France transformed from one of conservatism to one of relative freedom and experimentation. While the Catholic Church had historically defined what was deemed sexually acceptable, the influence of the Italian Renaissance brought with it the introduction of Neoplatonic philosophy, reframing considerations of sex and love in both intellectual and public spheres. French philosophers grappled with how to reconcile classic understandings of sexuality with Christianity. Neoplatonism's presentation of male homosocial love as the highest and most spiritual form of true love made many uncomfortable, as a frequent allusion to same-sex attraction. What followed was an attempt to reframe a philosophy that had been created largely without women in mind, treating them as worthy objects of desire rather than as temptresses who ensnared men with so-called false beauty. Efforts were also made to categorize good and bad desires. The royal court's reputation for sexual ambiguity was perceived as increasingly damaging to the realm. Both the court and the monarch were expected to be emblematic of the masculine virtues of power, potency, aggression, and emerging ideas of same-sex desire. Brantome's gossip. The sexual exploits of Francis I, ruled from 1515 to 1547, were the subject of court gossip chronicled extensively by soldier and traveler Pierre de Bourdeille, Seigneur de Brantome. Brantome's writings, first published in the 17th century and later in 1924 as The Lives of Fair and Gallant Ladies, offer glimpses into court life, and few of those mentioned are spared from association with some sort of illicit sex. Brantome recounts how noblemen in the court were pressured to take mistresses. The lives of women at court were part of a closed network to which Brantome had little access. Regardless, he blithely speculated about their same-sex relationships and spread rumors about the king. Gender, politics, and power. The reign of Henry III from 1574 to 1589 became a focus for the playing out of masculinity and homosociality. Henri failed to produce an heir and was seen as over-reliant on the counsel of his Italian mother, Catherine de' Medici. His apparent lack of interest in war, sports, and his enjoyment of parties led him to be seen as passive, weak, and effeminate. Many people were quick to connect these traits with sodomy, with fear stoked by the way Henri behaved in court. He was known for cross-dressing, wearing feminine clothing, makeup, and jewelry. He was also famous for the intense relationships that he had with his minions, darlings or dainty ones, men who emulated his effeminate style. It is not known whether these relationships were sexual, but Henri's opponents spread rumors of his sodomy nonetheless. In 1589, with no further heirs, the reign of the House of Valois came to an end. Once it had been supplanted by the House of Bourbon, attempts were made to bring the court's sexual reputation and the king's image back under control, including by Henri V, who was known for his many mistresses. But until the French Revolution, the court continued to be a site of gender and sexual subversion with varying degrees of scandal.